Thank you, and hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure for me to talk to you and share with you our vision for the future of IT. Paul talked about, actually, he closed on application is king. Application is king. However, IT itself is changing dramatically if you think about the future. And if you've been in the IT industry or in the tech industry, I would say, for as long as I have been, the amount of change that we are seeing, driven by technology transitions as well as business model transitions, is unprecedented. It's not just the magnitude of change, but the pace of change is really amazing. And I have a short video that captures the essence of this future. So let's look at that video right now. So as you saw in that video, all of those data points, mind-blowing, but we can summarize them in three big technology trends. First, the rise of the mobile. By the way, it's not just the number of devices or number of users, but increasingly the demand for enterprise applications to be mobile, and the demand for business processes to be delivered on the mobile platform without compromising security, compliance, and regulation. The second big shift is with cloud. But it's not just cloud driving different consumption models, but actually cloud is creating a whole set of new architectures, new breeds of applications, new business models that all of us in the industry have to deal with. And the third one, which most people are just beginning to realize, is the rise of what we call Internet of Things as a technology transition. This is the prevalent use of sensor networks, actuators, and all kinds of devices that have to be connected at the edge, pushing computing and intelligence along with storage and routing capabilities to be delivered more at the edge rather than simply being all in the data center. All of this we call at Cisco the Internet of Everything. So the Internet of Everything you can think of as the next evolution of the Internet. The Internet has touched all our lives, no matter where we live or what work we do, and we can think about its evolution in 4 phases. The first phase of the Internet was really about creating digital connectivity. And by the way, in that era, email was the killer app. And if you've been in the industry for that period of its evolution, remember emoticons? We kind of invented emoticons, smiley face, frowny face. Sending emails in caps means you're angry and upset about something. We had to come up with all these things because email was the killer app back then. The second phase of the internet was about digitizing transactions. And actually, Cisco kind of rose to its claim to fame in that era. And e-commerce became the killer app. And we started to see more B2B interactions on the internet as a platform. The third phase of the internet is more recent, I would say in the last 7 years or so. This is the digitization of interactions. And we saw the rise of social, mobile, and cloud as the killer apps in that era. So where will we go from here? That's what you're all here to create this future. And the fourth phase of the internet is really going to be about connecting people, processes, data, and things. That we call as the Internet of Everything. And Internet of Everything is really the business value that we can create from the Internet of Things. And our research at Cisco says that there's roughly $19 trillion of value we can recognize as an industry together in building this Internet of Everything. So as we go to this, Internet of Everything really becomes the connection between people, process, data, and things, and big data and analytics, new breeds of applications, new ways to consume all of this become very critical. These trends are changing how companies think of themselves. In the era of Internet of Everything, every company becomes a technology company. So think of this, right? A manufacturing company in the future has to deal with not just IT and information and applications that support the flow of information, but now they have to take information from the sensors on the manufacturing floors, the drones that are going to be prevalent on the manufacturing floor, and the robotics that will be used. And these existed to some extent, and traditionally these were what was called OT. So the people working in the mechanical engineering parts of manufacturing running the factory floors were somewhat different from the IT organizations. When we go into the Internet of Things and Internet of Everything, IT and OT have to come together. And the big data challenges, the platform challenges that Paul was talking about, platform as a service, has to now service applications not just for business process efficiency, but manufacturing process efficiency. So you can see a manufacturing company in the future becomes a technology company. Let's take another example in the retail industry. Retailers now, increasingly, and more so in the future, have to figure out how they can deliver coupons and discounts based on your preferences and based on your location. So they now have to figure out sensor networks connected to the Wi-Fi access points with the data being transferred all the way to the data center, but in many cases, having the intelligence at the edge to process real-time decision-making process. So these are examples of the exciting future that we can create when every company becomes a technology company. So what does this mean to all of us? What all this means to us in the IT industry is the role of IT itself is changing. And on the top of the slide, I've talked about some of the technology transitions. I talked about mobile, cloud, and IoT. But in addition to that, we now have to deal with new breeds of business applications that are coming into the enterprise. Box.net, Evernote, all of the applications that are getting created, born in the cloud, born on the mobile platform. CIOs now have to integrate those on the same platform that's serving up traditional legacy applications. Huge challenge for them. And then, by the way, analytics and data. And data traditionally used to be about database architectures that dealt with structured data and data at rest. As we move to Internet of Things, we will see more data in motion and real-time analytics that have to be gathered for both structured and unstructured data. And database architectures and analytics have to deal with data at rest as well as data in motion, structured data and unstructured data. And that creates a whole bunch of new architectures and opportunities that IT has to deal with. The bottom of this slide talks about the business challenges or the business opportunities that the CIO now has to enable for their businesses. They now have to be an enabler for growth and productivity in their organizations, expanding and helping their business partners reach new markets and drive growth, both for agility and efficiency. They have to think about experience expectations. As consumers, all of us walk into our workplace, and we want to have the same experience. And consumerization of IT is raising the bar on what IT has to deal with by delivering applications in a secure way without compromising the experience on any device across any platform. Security and privacy, by the way, are becoming very challenging as well. Security used to be primarily the threats were malicious. Increasingly, they've become competitive, and more and more, they're becoming geopolitical. So the hackers are actually advancing, and the bad guys are advancing as fast as the technology is advancing. So the old model for security, which used to be a different agenda based on different industry, is changing as well. What do I mean by that? In the old model of IT or security, a content industry, for example, primarily focused on digital rights management. Financial institution, for them, security really meant data security. If you're a consumer internet company, security meant your site couldn't go down. You're worried about DNS and other attacks. Now think about a company like Netflix. They have to worry about all these things. And as more of these cloud-based content companies become, I'm a big user of this application, and that kind of an application has to worry about the site hijacking, user authentication, privacy of data, as well as digital rights management. Security really has to become a horizontal platform, and that puts a huge challenge on IT organizations that have to deal with this particular case. In this particular case, business and data resiliency going forward. So all of this suggests that we need to now create a new model for IT. In the new model for IT, essentially value will be aggregated at 3 levels: infrastructure, platform, and applications, and services that have to be integrated across the board. And so if you may say, OK, this looks like the old model, right? We always had infrastructure, middleware, and applications on top. But the point is, within each layer, there is massive change happening. At the infrastructure layer, for example, we used to consume compute, storage, network as different blocks, and each company focused on capabilities in one area or the other. And that's changing, and in the future, we'll start consuming infrastructure more in unified architectures or converged infrastructure. Cisco led the way here by bringing compute and network together in something that we call unified compute platform. It's not a server, it's not a network, it really brings those two together. And we'll see these kind of models more and more in the future. The platform layer, Paul talked about the changes that are going on. Platform layers have to be much more open, with APIs that connect and program the infrastructure at the bottom, southbound APIs, along with northbound APIs that allow us to integrate all these applications, 77 billion applications that we saw by 2014, to be integrated seamlessly on the top. Not only that, the platform now has to create this ability to be able to program the infrastructure in a unique way. At the application level, we're also seeing a merger of traditional legacy applications some of them will probably, by the way, always be on physical infrastructure resources. Some will be virtualized, many will move to clouds, and the cloud will be a hybrid cloud. Services model is also changing as we go to the Internet of Everything, where traditionally services was break and fix and install support. Now that's moving to where people are asking for business outcomes from the technology. Many of the CIOs are faced with the challenge that they have to guarantee a business outcome to the CFO as they're consuming these applications. Actually, in many cases, the shift to cloud is occurring because of that. Because when you're consuming something as a service, it's easier to think about the focus or the result of that being a business outcome. So from Cisco perspective, we think about this model for next-generation IT from the context of where our strengths are. So this is not an architecture diagram. This is a strategic framework about how we think about this. And in this, as we can see, data center really becomes the foundation to start delivering IT as a service going forward into this cloud model. So the data center itself is now facing many new demands, some driven by the applications. And we're now beginning to realize, after we've kind of overcome the glamour and the benefits of virtualized compute, we're now realizing not all applications will be in the virtualized data center. Some will be in the physical infrastructure. And we need to have a level set between the physical world and the virtual world, and a connectivity and programmability capability across both physical and virtual resources. At the same time, we have to think about applications that need to have mobility within a cloud, within a private cloud, and eventually across private and public clouds. And we refer to this at Cisco as the world of intercloud, when we will be in a world of many clouds, private, public, and the way to connect these two. Security and multi-tenancy are placing huge demands also on the infrastructure. So data center is actually going through probably one of the most major transformations. In my view, data center and security are the two domains that are going through major transformation, primarily driven by mobile, cloud, and IoT. So we've been on this journey at Cisco, thinking about data center architectures. And when we first started creating the data center architectures and technology, primarily, it was all about manually programming the physical infrastructure to meet the needs of the applications. We then created something called fabric computing, or fabric path, which allowed us to enable mobility of these applications. But still, the CIOs couldn't get the benefit, or as application developers, you were sort of divorced from the infrastructure underneath. Whereas, as you're creating these large-scale mobile applications, you want the infrastructure to respond to your needs. So we see this, and we've recently announced something called application-centric infrastructure. Application-centric infrastructure essentially understands the requirements of applications that many of you are working on, and allows the infrastructure to serve up specific features and functions from the infrastructure to make the applications run better and optimize the performance of that application. So by the way, we started on this programmability 4 years ago when we created UCS. UCS really was the first instantiation of converged infrastructure, bringing compute and storage together. And back then, when we announced this platform, people were puzzled why Cisco was trying to get into the compute market and server market. And we kept telling, we're not building a server, we're building a unified compute platform. Today, we're very proud to report that we have over 30,000 customers on this platform, and we've gone from 0 revenue 4 years ago to over $2 billion of run rate. And the point of this is the first step we took in programmability. We recently announced ACI. ACI is a broader vision than traditionally what people talk about as SDN, or software-defined networking. The fundamental difference is in ACI, there is a service template that as application developers you can use, and you can request certain parameters from the infrastructure, and we allow those requirements to be programmed all the way down to the silicon level. And by the way, we allow this unifies both physical and virtual infrastructure, so you can program it once, and it's deployed across both physical and virtual infrastructures. And the policies are retained in the infrastructure so that when the application is called again, those requirements are served up automatically. So let's take an example of a customer use case. So in the financial services industry, especially on the high-frequency trading floors, latency of the network is an extremely important feature for them. They create applications that run in very minute level of latency, makes a huge difference for these application performance. When they deploy and use Cisco's capability with ACI, they can program the low latency requirement. The infrastructure not only understands that, but serves up features like quality of service, traffic routing, device policy from the data center cloud all the way to the WAN, so that all of the devices are programmed and the application is optimized by the infrastructure. So essentially, we are enabling you as the application developers and you as programmers to leverage the power of the infrastructure innovation that Cisco is bringing. So our vision is broader, and it does, ACI, by the way, rests solely on having an open ecosystem to support this innovation. So we, 2 weeks ago, or two or 3 weeks ago, we announced something called OpFlex. And we have a strong ecosystem of partners that can take advantage of the application-centric infrastructure that Cisco has developed. And they can leverage the features and the capability within the infrastructure to create their own functionality and deploy these applications much faster. So the fundamental principles between OpFlex and ACI is that it unifies physical and virtual resources without compromising security, reliability, and performance, so that you can write once and deploy across the hardware. Secondly, it extends programmability not just in the data center, but across access and WAN. And thirdly, it supports southbound as well as northbound APIs, so the application can be uniquely programmed all the way to the infrastructure. So those are some advantages that you as developers, and as we move into this application economy, leverage the power of the infrastructure. And again, Paul talked about how open source is going to be the only way, and we fundamentally believe this, to leverage the movement to cloud. And it's winning because people do not want to have vendor lock-in when it comes to the operating system. Because you see, the platform and the operating system really have to serve the function of bringing the infrastructure closer to the application. That can only be done when we use open source methodologies and the power of the community to create all of this capability within. And OpenStack is something that we leverage. It's part of our open source strategy because we believe there's a large community behind this. It's built on industry standards, and it will actually accelerate the innovation that we needs to happen in the industry to make the vision of IoE a reality. So Cisco is a big supporter of the OpenStack Foundation. We have been participating in this from the very beginning and lead with our participation in creating or leveraging the innovation that's happening in OpenStack to create plugins for our infrastructure in a unique way. Not only that, we actually believe that the community in OpenStack, which is now almost 910 people strong, can innovate with us, and we will harness that power back to connect to the infrastructure and uniquely contribute solutions to our partners, where customers, by the way, see a lot of advantages with this approach. Programmable infrastructure, application-centric infrastructure, leveraging the OpenStack platform, uniquely supporting applications, all of that combined allow our customers to innovate faster. It gives them the flexibility. It allows them the agility that they are looking for in an automated way so that they can bring their solutions faster to market without a lock-in and have a cost advantage. Really, I believe this is the way that we will craft the future we need to go to. We're proud to have Red Hat as our strong partners in this journey, and we feel our strengths are very complementary. Cisco is a leader in cloud infrastructure, cloud services. We have a larger SaaS platform. Red Hat leads with their strength in open source and OpenStack and understanding that power. Together, we feel this relationship is very synergistic, and we can create this future for the world of many clouds. So it's time for us all to innovate together. And as I close, I simply want to say that cloud, mobile, Internet of Things are fundamentally changing the model for IT. We're rapidly moving from a client-server model to a mobile cloud model, moving faster into the Internet of Everything. As we do this, though, we have to help traditional IT organizations bridge into this future. The only way to do that is to create platforms that not just serve the cloud ecosystem, but bridge back and allow our customers to have the investment protection that they need in the traditional applications in the physical world. By building a bridge from physical to virtual, from the cloud to Internet of Everything, we can help create the model for next-generation IT. The question as you go through this summit, and for all of us, is how will we participate in the $19 trillion of value that we see with Internet of Everything? Thank you so much for listening.